what we're going to run through today specifically as part of this series is supporting mobile devices, iOS and Android endpoints. It's a large pain point for a lot of our existing customers because very often you need multiple different solutions to provide support. You have an MDM to manage the device, but a lot of MDMs don't provide remote access. So that's where tools like Rescue can really help fill that gap. Depending on the license you have of Rescue, you may or may not have access to mobile device support today, but regardless, hopefully you learn something and can take something back to the team. The other piece, well, really where we can help is with Rescue Mobile. It allows you to take over a live view of the screen. And for Android devices, we can actually take over full remote control as well. Now, we can pull some diagnostic information, including the version of the mobile operating system, the storage capacity, and things like that. We also have the ability to identify some very easy solutions on the Android side, where we can quickly solve issues using the quick click to fix tool, which I will demonstrate today. Some of the value that this adds, of course, is being able to have a solution to support end users, streamlining the process. And honestly, the way I always explain it to customers that I work with is that if you take a look at how you're supporting mobile devices today, usually it's one of two things. It's either you're verbally walking them through it or you're guessing. That involves a lot of discussion around, hey, what color is the icon? What color is the app? What do you see 2 rows down, 3 columns in? What do you see now? What do you see now? And it gets very tedious, and it's honestly not a very efficient way to provide support. So being able to see the device screen definitely goes a very long way, and I'll demonstrate that for you today. So you all are relatively familiar here with the Rescue console. So this should be second nature, but I will also show you on the right-hand side my Android device. So I'm going to use this as the device we're going to get connected to. Now, the nice thing is there's a lot of connection methods, but they're all the same methods that you use today: PIN code, email, and link. We do add the option of using the SMS text message, which is actually what I'll use today. So I'm going to type in a phone number and click send, and we're going to see that text come through on my Android phone on the right, just like that. So the link in the text is key. Okay, the link in the text, that will do one of two things. Now, if they have the application, the Rescue Mobile application installed on the device already, the link will identify that. And when they tap the link, it'll open the application for them. All they have to do is tap activate, and it starts the session immediately. So it's a very simplistic way to get into a session. Now, if they don't have the app installed, the link will also recognize that, and it will take them to the respective app store to download it. We'll talk a little bit more a little bit later around how we get the app on the devices, etc. But I just want to show you the join flow here. So they tap the link. As you can see, it opens the Rescue app for them, and then it actually enters the PIN code and starts the session for them. So all the end user has to do on Android is tap activate. What happens now is this spins up a session. You can see in Rescue, we have a connecting session right here. And I'll just hit the home button on my phone just to go back to the home screen. But that's all the end user has to do. Okay, the end user does not need to go through any additional permissions on their phone. They don't need to go through, and actually go and change anything in the settings. It simply allows them to initiate this remote session as long as they have the application. Okay. Now, I use the text message option. The PIN code is also a very easy way to do that. So let's maximize Rescue here, get a little bit more screen real estate. And what I want to do, I'm actually going to open this up into its own window. And when I have this open in its own window and I'm connected to an Android device, I actually have full remote control of this device. So to show you this, I'm not going to touch my phone at all. I'm going to leave my phone on my desk, and I'm going to do everything here through Rescue. Now you'll notice on Android, we do have a lot more functionality. That's because of some Apple limitations, but we'll talk about that when we get to iOS. On the Android side, I do have my cursor is my fingertip, effectively. Anything I click on, if I click into settings, for instance, right, that transfers to Rescue. I can scroll down the list. I have the hard and the soft keys down at the bottom, so I can go back, I can show all applications, and of course I have the home button here as well. I can control rotation, so if you are supporting an app that's landscape, you can always rotate. I can magnify. I can also draw directly on Android. So if I want to teach them how to do something rather than just doing it for them, this is a really easy way to do that. okay? All these annotations show up directly on the device. We also have a little laser pointer, which shows up as a red dot for the end user to follow along with. Okay? So some very useful teaching and training tools. Just like with Windows and Mac sessions, folks, we can screen record and take screenshots very, very easily. So that's what we can do when we have it open in its own window, right? That allows us full remote control. But let's say I just need to review system information or something else on the device. We actually get quite a lot of that here on the Android side. I can see the operator and the connection strength. I can see the battery, right? Whether it's charging or not. I can even see the temperature of the battery. If you have a use case for temperature of the battery, I would love to hear it. But it's good to see and good to understand that this is the type of access we have to these Android endpoints. Below that, Android version number, build number, IMEI if you want. But if you retrieve the IMEI, that would be visible, and the end user does have to approve that permission on their phone. It is also captured in the session log if you pull the IMEI. Now on the right-hand side, this is Quick Nav, and I can customize this, so I can add certain features to this list if I want to, etc. And anytime I go to one of these locations, it does require me, or the end user rather, to tap a link. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Let's actually just go to my Wi-Fi settings here. There we go. So by clicking Wi-Fi here, it opens up that menu option on the endpoint. And now I can go in and configure Wi-Fi network settings, etc. And again, these are customizable. So you can add options here like privacy and location settings, applications, etc. All that would be visible there. All right, Android is open source, meaning I have access to a full file manager. I'm not going to go too far into this, but I will just give you a very good example here. So that, remember, this is my personal phone that we're connected to. This is my DCIM folder. It probably won't load. Okay, well, it might take a second here. When I go into my camera folder, it's literally, all 50 million pictures I have of my dog, right? Just want to show you that you do have access to the file directory on Android devices, just like you would on a Windows or a Mac device as well. Last thing I'll point out here for Android is in system info, we can actually get a full list of every application installed on the device. I can see the version number, where it's installed. I can also launch applications right from here, and I can even uninstall applications from here as well. Let's open the Uber app. Why not? So I'm going to click launch. That will actually launch the Uber app on the phone. And if we go back to the phone, there's the Uber app. Okay, so you can launch specific applications from system info, and you can also uninstall them, like I mentioned. All right, folks, that is Android. Now I already have an iOS session spun up here, so I'm just going to swap over to it. But a couple key differences. Okay, with iOS, you still get a live real-time view of everything they do. Whether they're going into settings, whether they're looking at their control panel, whether you're going in and adjusting anything, even if they open up an application like Maps or their camera, you'd be able to see everything they see on their screen. But the key differentiator between Android and iOS here is on iOS, it is always view only. That is an Apple limitation, unfortunately, and there's no software in the market today that allows for true remote control of an iOS device, period. I will say if Apple ever opens it up and allow for remote access, then we will likely be one of the first organizations to have that as part of our tool. We were the first organization to have what you see here, which is a live real-time view. And that's actually, that began back when Apple introduced the screen broadcasting, or rather screen recording functionality. However, the connection method on iOS is almost identical to Android. They have to have the Rescue app, and you can send them a text message, a link, or just have them manually enter the PIN code. We do get some system information for iOS. We do everything we can within the confines of Apple's limitations, but we can see whether it's charging or not, what the battery power remaining is, and we can see the version number of iOS here as well. So relatively straightforward, but it does give you the ability to see the screen. And again, it takes away the guesswork, takes away the pain of having to maybe have them send you screenshots or have them just verbally explaining something to you. So it usually makes a big difference here. Okay, I do quickly want to talk about a couple things, specifically surrounding the mobile application itself, right? So as you know, it requires the mobile app. That app is free, of course. It's a very small download, and it can very easily be mass deployed, right? A lot of you are supporting internal employees, 63% of you supporting internal employees, and the rest of you are supporting both internal employees and customers. So in the case of devices that you manage, right? If you manage these iOS and Android endpoints on an MDM, like Intune or AirWatch or MOS 360, Mobile Iron, there's a lot of them. We even have our own MDM, believe it or not. And it allows you to push out the application ahead of time. By doing so, it makes the connection process 10 times easier because that end user does not need to go download that application when you connect the first time. If it's deployed, you can simply send them the text or the link, and from there, they'd be able to start the session very, very quickly and easily. So I do always recommend that, is deploying the Rescue mobile application to Android and iOS endpoints. The last thing I'll point out here, for those of you who are larger enterprise organizations, or for those of you who want something more customized, we can also provide that with Rescue. We have a handful of customers. Well, we provide not only the APK, but also an SDK for this exact functionality. So it is possible to take our functionality that I just showed you and build it into your own proprietary application. Okay, there's no cost associated with that. We provide all the backend information, all the code, source code that you would need to do this. And we do have a handful of customers who have chosen to build our functionality for mobile devices into their own proprietary applications. So it's a very easy way to customize it further and have it part of your own app rather than needing to download the Rescue mobile app.